Okay, come on in, everybody. Morning, folks. Take your time, take your time. Morning, morning. How you doing, everybody?
So what changed? I think I already heard it, but what changed when we walked to 99? They have 5 times thicker walls than what you'll find in your typical home. We also have this material on it called Insulquill, which is kind of like a mattress, but it acts as a dampener for that sound, so you don't have the sound bounce like the reverb in here. Because this is a big room. If you're in somewhere like a Costco or a similar warehouse style building, you'll have all sorts of echoing, reverberations, things like that. So we try to mitigate that with that Insulquill, that material there. Now this stage in particular, like I said, like Zan was saying, blank slate. This is what you'll have when you start production. You're going to choose your sound stage based on how much space you need for what you need to do. But we can accomplish a lot in this little guy. It's actually been used for a lot of live shows. It was most recently the Kelly Clarkson show filmed in here before she moved over to New York. But she had the whole setup here. Her stage, the studio audience, they actually extended this wall over a little bit to create a backstage area for her to come out of. And the stage was over there. We had the audience bleachers set up on this side. Camera crew, everybody that needed to be a part of the production, all right in here, which is kind of hard to believe when you look at it. This is actually one of our smaller sound stages that we have here on the lot, but it's a great example of how they operate. Now, sometimes you'll see even higher roofs on this. Our sound stage right now, 25, I believe, it's filming Lopez versus Lopez when that comes back. That one goes all the way up to the rafters. It's super, super tall. And that's to accommodate larger sets, things like that. Zan pointed out when he played clip number 7, all the things that shot inside Soundstage 12 include a lot of building exteriors, really. Then that's possible inside a soundstage. It's actually more useful inside of a soundstage than filming on location outside in the real world because we have control. Control is such a big thing here when we're producing film, TV, anything that needs some kind of production aspect to it. Because if we're out filming on the street, somebody walks by, we gotta worry about street traffic, airplane noise. We're really close to Van Nuys Airport. Anything that might interfere with your shot is gonna cost a lot of money because time is money. And if we lose time on production, we're gonna lose money. So coming in here, we were able to keep control, keep all the sound out. We can control the weather, light changes, anything like that, because the sun is going to be moving over us and changing positions while we're filming. So to keep that continuous continuity in our filming process, we would come in here a lot of the time. About 90% of filming actually does take place in here, which is amazing, considering that our backlot is made up of a lot of outdoor sets as well that you guys are going to get to see today. Now this one in particular, this was actually used first for our first TV show in 1950 called the Jack Benny Program, if anyone's familiar with that one. Since then we've had a couple other titles coming here like Dude, Where's My Car, one of my favorites for you guys. Let's get some.
So none of these buildings have interiors?
No. Yeah, a few of them might have, well, what's the one that's practical down here? We don't see it yet, but there's a yogurt, or it's the yogurt shop from The Good Place up ahead. That has somewhat of a practical use of the inside. Mostly no. It just kind of depends on the building, but most of them are shops.
Electricity, crack that open, plug in your street light, and there you go. We have the same light boxes out on our Metro sets, so very versatile. Here in Flower Alley, you most recently saw in a Corona commercial starring the Mandalorians Pedro Pascal and The Last of Us. So if you YouTube Pedro Pascal Corona, you'll find the commercial, I'm sure. The interiors do have a steel infrastructure, but the exterior, very lightweight. And also built on a scale. If you notice these balconies behind you, if you really imagine standing up there, the railing might come up to your knees. Right? Not really full size. End of the road as it turns the corner, I'm not even sure if you can take a full-size car around that turn. It gets that tight. And by narrowing it off and tapering it off like that, it really does make this road look longer than it really is. These sets were designed to be filmed uphill. Point the camera downhill, the sightlines are terrible. There's a satellite farm and a sound stage. But up here we curve the road, so it looks like the village continues much longer than it really does. You bring your camera too far to the right and, well, there goes your illusion. But I wanted to bring you up here to this corner, and feel free to crowd in the shade if you like, because this is one of my favorite sets on the back lot. He comes down these stairs and then he meets Orlando Bloom in here for the first time. This is the blacksmith shop. Now these are also bolted shut, but you can peek through the doorknob holes if you wish, but you'd see again, there's not a lot of space in there. So the interior of the blacksmith shop, they did that in the soundstage over in Disney Stage 2. And it was up to the set designer to make sure that the doors looked exactly the same from these exteriors and those interiors. And you always have to have a good script supervisor to make sure that there's no continuity errors. The script supervisor's got a real interesting job on set. They're paying that, it feels weird. Come on down this way. Oh. Another comedy classic, History of the World Part 1 from comedy legend Mel Brooks. This was Rome near the end of the movie when they were doing the chariot race through the square. And for my Good Place fans, this is the historic yogurt shop. I'll show you a clip of it when we get back on the trolley, but yeah, the first episode used this, you see it all the time. The old train station as well. Now this frozen yogurt shop was also a Parisian bistro from the Muppets 2011 movie. This was the setup right here, and so we had Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy walking down the sidewalk talking about why their relationship fell apart. It was a nighttime scene, and I didn't even recognize the shot because Disney had digitally erased the Green Hill and put in more buildings to make it look like a much further city that continued on way further than it does. And the only reason I was able to clock it was the train station was still there. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even recognize it. So yeah, anytime you can combine practical elements with a bit of computer embellishments.
Behind the scenes to discover why this studio tour is world famous. So whether this is your first visit or your 60th, get ready for fun, excitement, and an experience like no other.
But as we look back at 60 years of the studio tour, we're also looking back at 110 years of filmmaking in this exact location. On your screens you can see what opening the day looked like the following year. We open the gates to the strangest city in the world, Universal City. That's our founder, Carl Laemmle, looking at the key to the strangest city in the world. And in the last 110 years, we've made over 8,000 movies. Currently with Despicable Me 4 still playing in theaters, and Twisters. Here on the right is Fire Station 51. As a real city, we need a real fire station. You never know when a fire might break out, and these men and women are ready to jump in at a moment's notice. I just want to make sure you understood that was a real fire station, because we are in a world of fantasy. It would have been easy to assume it's a movie or TV show set, and actually it has been used as a movie or TV show set once or twice over the years, but so we wanted the studio to look all nice. The rest of these are just warehouses, so you know the secret now. Conan O'Brien famously only hosted The Tonight Show for about 10 months before it went back to Jay Leno. And then Jay Leno took the show back to where he was filming it, just over in Burbank, not too far from here. And since this was so designed for talk shows, that is why Kelly Clarkson came in here to do her show. Steve Harvey's talk show, Steve also in there, Last Comic Standing, Chelsea Lately. It just kind of became the talk show soundstage. But now that Kelly Clarkson's left, they have removed the seating area. And so it really can be used for anything all over again. So we have had a huge influx of production, mostly television shows. I was admiring that BMW there. Anytime you see a really nice, shiny car and the windows are tinted, look closely because usually famous people are sitting in those cars. And also, you guys are usually the ones who see them before I do, since I'm not facing them, so.
Is that it? I can't believe that's
my last line, and then tram moves on to the next thing.
And so now we're moving on to the next thing, our metro sets, up close and personal. You're getting a close look, you can see the depth of their construction on the right, and you'll notice it lacking on the left. Most of the buildings on our right are what we call facades, just the exteriors of the building. And in fact, on your screens, I'll show you what most of these buildings look like. They're pretty hollow on the inside, if there is an inside. And mostly looks like a garage or attic space, and sometimes it's kind of just a three-dimensional billboard. But on the left is a flat wall that's been painted to look like it has depth, and actually it looks pretty good when you're not right next to it. Down the road to the right, you can see a block down a bunch of street lights and staircases leading into our Brownstone Street apartments where Jim Carrey once lived in Bruce Almighty.
Place the dog! Inside bad, outside good. Inside bad, outside good. Oh, you're done now. B-E-A-U.
Now let's look at those same apartment exteriors again. Notice them in countless productions over and over, each time looking ever so slightly different. By swapping out the textures on the buildings, the style of the street light on the corner, the types of trees that you can have out there. You can really reflect time periods and geographical locations. You know what you didn't see in that, but maybe my favorite thing that filmed on that street was Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. That's where Kevin's uncle lived, so you'd remember the scene with in fact, you're seeing the side stone. Down this road, right behind the clock tower, you can see the V logo for The Voice. This is where The Voice has been filming for the last handful of seasons. They used to film in stage 12, the first one that we saw when we were coming down the hill. These are some of our newer sound stages. Jordan Peele made use of these in his last two horror thrillers, Us and Nope. Plenty horror in this area. In fact, this body of water sitting next to us on the left was once the home to one of Universal's most fearsome monsters, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Down the road on the right, you can see some production taking place. The New York Film Academy, they got their campus right across the street, so they're out here a couple of times every month doing some filming. The filmmakers of tomorrow practicing their craft today, and they are on the oldest sets on the Universal lot, our 6-point sets. Back in the early days of the studio, the Western was our bread and butter. We could film about 250 of them on those streets every year. And while the Western's largely gone out of fashion, we just got used out of these sets. In the last decade, you've seen on the big screen in movies like Saving Mr. Banks from Disney. Colin Farrell had scenes out here, or maybe you saw it in The Call of the Wild starring Harrison Ford. It's on that street where he meets the dog for the first time. Or Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. But just like that, we've traversed the Atlantic Ocean as we are about to pass our little Europe sets here on the right, and get to our property warehouse. This is an important area of our backlot that the regular tour never gets to see, and honestly, most tour guides on the trams don't even really have time to talk about it, because there's just so much filmography to go over. But that doesn't really take away how important this building is. Going back to that clip from Superstore I showed you earlier, some greeting cards and backpacks, cell phone cases, even a cup of pencils and binders behind a desk can really make a set look real and lived in. And all of those items are what we call props. Short for property, it's anything an actor can pick up and interact with. And the building we're heading to next on our left is our property warehouse, where we store the majority of our props. Now this is the most exclusive visit, as this is an active working environment. We were able to take you into stage 1 earlier because they weren't using it today, but they are very much using the property warehouse today. So as we move through, we're going to try and stay out of everybody's way, and to help do that, we'll be going in just a few minutes.
This is an example of some of our angry mob scenes that we used to film a lot in the Court of Miracles. That was kind of our go-to when we were getting these scenes on tape. Because it was such a large area, we could accommodate a lot of our extras. You can see them there. Whoops, paused a little too late there. That's okay. Yeah, you can see them there on the screen. You could fit a bunch of people in that area because back in the day, they could not digitally add actors into a scene. We have the ability to do that now, obviously, and we did not do that for Frankenstein. That's a great use of those sets. Now, the torches they were holding, we would not do that today. We would have very trained stunt people holding those torches. Back then, in the 30s, they would just hand them off to an actor who had never done that before in their life, more than likely, give them a big old stick of fire. Now we have different safety regulations here on the back lot. So we are about to head into Soundstage 50, you guys. That's the one opening up for us right now. This is a really cool opportunity. We're driving onto a hot set right now. It's been retrofitted. We have this kind of permanently set up to look like a subway station. This was used in an episode of Bones starring David Boreanaz. Back when that was on the air, we also have used it for several other productions. And if you look around, I'm going to try and see, it looks like everybody's on break right now. That's just fine. But we've got the director's main base right there. You can see his director's chair, where we can see... Oh. All right, you guys. Well, that's California for you, isn't it? We've got a little bit of a shake-up here, everybody. Please remember to stay seated. Hang on to those blockings. As long as the ceiling stays in place, we should just be fine. No, no worries. Oh no, the ceiling! Film that was released in 1974 called Can Anyone Guess the Name? That's right, it's Earthquake. Good job, everybody. I heard all of you say it. That was just created after the film Earthquake, released 1974. That is a classic disaster movie, right? That kind of coined the disaster movie. Now, there was another movie that was actually set to release alongside. Oh, New York Film Academy right there, you guys. Over on your right-hand side, getting more great looks at their production. But there was another production that was actually set to release right alongside Earthquake in 1974 at Christmas time, and it ended up being delayed by about 100 days, which pushed it all the way into the summer. And it kind of coined the summer blockbuster. Now, I am talking about Steven Spielberg's Jaws, and we are going to head into Amity Island right now. Now, this is a recreation of Amity Island. They filmed on location in Martha's Vineyard, so we have nothing to worry about. They even caught the shark. Look at that, you guys. Definitely no ominous music will soon. That's a dolphin. If I'm an expert in anything, I'd say that's a dolphin. But you know, even if it is a shark, there's no one in the water, so everything should be fine. Buddy, you okay? You good? Oh. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's okay. Tell you what, I think the best place for us right now, let's go on up to safety here, pull behind this pier. Oh, and look, you know, guys, if there's one thing I always say, it's that the safest place is behind some flammable barrels of gasoline. Absolutely nothing could go wrong if we just park it right here. Just ride this one out. We'll wait this one out. Hopefully nothing bad happens. My gosh. Hang on, just keep looking at that fire, guys. Definitely keep looking in that direction. Do not look here. boy. He's very well trained, Bruce. He performs that hundreds of times a day for our trams and our trolleys. We love him here. Now, there was another Bruce, a very famous one. It was actually the shark Bruce, the animatronic that they used in the... But I do think Jaws is a better release for the summer anyway, so maybe he did them all a favor. He was actually a marketing genius, that Bruce. Now, Bruce over there, all the fire you just saw, the water effects, when he sneezed on you guys, that was all what's called a practical effect. Now, a practical effect is anything that's not done digitally, and you're going to get an example now of another practical effect behind me. We're heading into Old Mexico right now, and I'm going to bring up Al Roker to tell you a little bit about this area.
My favorite part of the tour, weather. When it comes to film and TV, it is truly a special effect. In fact, to demonstrate how weather effects are created, we debuted our first major attraction here on the studio tour way back in
Texas, starring Tony Parton and Burt Reynolds. Can't say the full title on mic, but it's a super cute movie musical. That set was actually constructed inside of Soundstage 12. That was that big soundstage that Dan pointed out at the beginning of our tour. Used to be able to hinge open like a dollhouse so that you could film better on the inside. Now we got some more houses here for you guys. We're turning onto our Colonial Street right now. We call it Colonial here on the back lot, but you may better know it as Wisteria Lane from Desperate Housewives. Take a look at your screens right now.
If there is one thing everyone in suburbia can appreciate, it's a good neighbor.
What the heck? Let's do that! The Desperate Housewives are residents here for quite some time, but we've had a lot of other things filmed here on Colonial Street. Casper, the movie from the 90s, starring Christina Ricci, filmed right here. We've had the structures change a lot over the years as we need to. Desperate Housewives brought a whole tornado in here, destroyed one of the houses. We've had fires, explosions, everything that you wouldn't normally be able to do on a residential street because of permits and complaining neighbors. We can do it right here on the back lot. Now, a couple other things that have filmed here. You guys have, if you've seen the film Candy Cane Lane starring Eddie Murphy, great Christmas movie. They use this brown house right here on the left. That's also the Ace Hardware house from the Ace Hardware commercials. It was also where Beyonce filmed her lemonade commercial for the Super Bowl. She had her lemonade stand right there when she broke the internet. This blue house right here, we've been talking about Ted a lot today, but you guys should check it out. It's a great show. This is the exterior of the Ted house for the first season. They've been filming the second season there as well. Real quick, we'll point out that purple house on your right-hand side. That is 1313 Mockingbird Lane from the Munsters in the 1960s. It's really cool. I love Colonial Street. You'll notice we actually curved the beginning and end of it. When you're standing inside of Colonial Street, you can't see where it ends. So that creates the illusion that the street is a lot longer than it actually is. You can get more bang for your buck that way. Now let's turn onto this drive here. This is Steven Spielberg Drive. We name a lot of streets after our movie directors here on the back lot. And we have a great relationship with Steven. So we, of course, named one of our longest streets after him. We can film here, not have to go out in the middle of the woods where there's bears and no cell service. We can film a lot of stuff right here, including Bird Box, starring Sandra Bullock. She walked through all of this with a blindfold on. And if you haven't seen Bird Box, don't worry, we have you with Sandra. Now, speaking of Steven, I'm going to bring you on. We have a great relationship with Steven, but gosh, guys, don't get off the trolling. I'm telling you. Now, speaking of Steven, we're going to move into one of our largest exterior sets here. This is the War of the Worlds crash site. War of the Worlds crash site from 2005, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, if you look around, you might notice something pretty big over there on your right-hand side. That is a real 747 airliner. Now, don't worry, it didn't crash right here on the Universal backlot. It was actually decommissioned. Once planes reach a certain mileage, we have to retire them for safety reasons. And this one in particular was out in the middle of the Mojave Desert, just living out the rest of its days, cooking in the sun. Then Paramount came along, bought it for about $60,000, not bad for a whole plane. But to get it here, they had to cut it into pieces, put it on the back of flatbed trucks, take the roof off so it could clear the bridges, and then get it all the way here, which cost about $200,000 in total. They got you on the shipping and handling there. And now that total means we have a total for the plane of how much? That's right, more money than Jen has. Very good, you guys. That's excellent. How'd you know? Now this is a recreation of an actual suburb in New Jersey. And in fact, we actually have used this for several other things. Like the first thing to film here was America's Next Top Model. They shot a post-apocalyptic photo shoot here with the girls. Did that right here on our sets. But this is also used as a search and rescue training ground for search and rescue dogs, which I think is really interesting. We are able to use this as a live active emergency, and the dogs can respond and learn what to do. If a plane ever goes down in a neighborhood, those dogs are ready. So coming up here, you guys, we have a studio classic. This is a classic to the studio tour right here. Since the 1960s, this is the Psycho house on your right-hand side. And Alfred Hitchcock's film Psycho, of course. It's where Norman and Mother live together. So sweet. I love a boy who loves his mother. It's so nice. You don't need a good man anymore. Right, Bob? I know, right? Now, as we pass by, you'll notice this is another actual, this is a shell set. So there is nothing on the inside of there. If I've had anybody see Maxine, anybody? In theaters right now, great film, not for kids again, but they use the interior of this set. Maxine gets chased by Kevin Bacon all the way up these stairs, runs and hides inside the front door of the Psycho house. And you can see on the inside, it's just wooden rafters and steel beams holding the thing up. Oh, there's Mother on the second floor. Hi. Wow. Girl really needs to moisturize. Oh my gosh, I've suggested so many things to her. She's will do it. Drink water. That was right there on Falls Lake, is that location. Also, the TLC music video Waterfalls filmed there on Falls Lake, as well as Harry Styles' Falling music video. Tons of things. Right now we're using it as a parking lot, but I sure hope it's back in production very soon. Now here's Jupiter's Claim, guys. This is from the film Nope, directed by Jordan Peele. He's going to come back, talk to you a little bit more about it.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion and bring it to life. This is Jupiter's Claim, a nostalgic, small-time Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky G. Parker. Over there, look into the winking well and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie Kid Share. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? What? A little further down, you can see the brand new Star Lasso experience. Built to showcase an unbelievable new live show. It's not looking so live anymore. Anyway. Welcome to the world of Nope.
Uh-oh, guys. Alright, those noises mean you do not want to look up at the sky, let me tell you. Jean jacket's gonna get you. I promise this would be so scary if you'd seen the movie. Oh, spooky. Yeah, I think it's about time we turn the key and peel on out of here. Don't you think, Bob? Yeah. Thanks, Dan, for laughing about it. I appreciate it. Now, like I said, guys, those sets were constructed by by Ruth DeYoung, the favorite production designer of Jordan Peele. The studio asked them, hey, why don't we just film on location at an old abandoned Calico ghost town? Let's just paint it the colors you want. Film in a space that's already built. And Jordan and Ruth both looked at each other and said, nope. That's exactly what happened. They constructed them here because they wanted it to feel new and fresh and unfamiliar to the audience. Nice and eerie. Now just behind me, guys, this is Sullivan Truck Repair coming up. Looks like we've sustained a little bit of damage to the trolley. We've been through a lot together here on the back lot. So I'm going to bring us inside in just a moment. But don't worry about the cost. I know a guy, he's practically family. Everything should be just fine. Looks like I am getting a call though. I didn't know this could get calls. Let's see what happens. Hello?
Look, this might be more serious than I thought.
Oh, okay.
What just happened? This is a secure line. Who are you?
I'll tell you who I am, boy. I'm the
That is the studio that we just saw down there. You guys, you can see sound stages 40 through 47 over there in the distance where we are broadcasting the Olympics for you. Just beyond that, you've got Warner Brothers with the curvy roofs rather, and the WB up in the front with that famous water tower. And then right beyond that too, ABC, the green and white building off in the distance. That's right next to Disney Animation, where they make all of the Disney films. But it really takes a village here on all of our backlots here in the Los Angeles area. One of the busiest filming locations in the world. Now guys, we're heading back into the theme park real quick before we go. I just want to say a big friendly thank you, and I hope you all join me in thanking Bob, our driver. Let's give it up for Bob. Nice job. Keeping us safe through the backlot. We'd be walking if not for him. And guys, it is 92 degrees outside, so thank you, Bob. We appreciate you. And I'd like to say thank you to Zan as well for taking half the tour. Good job, Zan.